Yeah. Well, folks, again, I'm Daniel from Swallow Hill Music. We're going to be talking here with Brian Johansson from Fort Collins-based band Sugar Britches, who are playing a tribute show to the legendary John Prine as part of our summer concerts at 4 Mile Historic Park series on Wednesday, July 10th at 6:30 p.m. Brian, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to introduce your band a little bit and introduce Sugar Britches?
Sure. Well, Sugar Britches has been around about 7 years now at this point, and it's kind of been in a few different iterations. It started as a duo with me and another friend, and I've been a songwriter and singer for in Colorado for a little over 20 years, and a few different bands I've played solo, and Sugar Britches has just kind of been so much fun to play as like more of a honky-tonk alt-country outfit. And now we've got a 5-piece band, and we've got a drummer, electric guitarist, upright bassist or bassist, and then fiddle player, me on acoustic and singing. And then it's just been a blast to do that. And we've really enjoyed doing the John Prine tribute. So we just did that for the first time a few months ago, and wanted to do it again and work something out with you guys. And we're just so excited because we all love John Prine so much. So
heck yeah. The feeling is mutual here at Swallow Hill, man. We're very excited to have you too. And folks, if you haven't heard about our series yet, the summer concerts at 4 Mile Historic Park series is Wednesday evenings from June through July. And it's all tribute acts. We've got coming up tomorrow, we've got a Beatles tribute act, and then Judy Garland, Beastie Boys, and then John Prine Tribute Show from Sugar Britches. We'll be capping it off with a tribute to the Grateful Dead, Shakedown Street. And it's going to be an amazing series. Sugar Britches is an amazing band. I can't wait to hear them. And I can think of nobody better in the scene to do a tribute to the late, great John Prine than these fine folks. So when we're done here, please be sure to get your tickets and learn more info with the link in our bio. It is you can see more about the series and get your tickets. And remember to get your tickets fast. Tickets for this show are going fast, folks. You don't want to miss out on this. So please don't wait till the last second. Don't get your tickets early. Again, that's with the link in our bio. So Brian, thanks for being here. Let's hear a little bit more about the show. So I would love to hear, let's just talk a little bit more about John Prine, the man himself. What does John Prine's legacy mean to you and to the band broadly?
Well, and the really cool thing about doing this, I mean, I just feel like everybody has such a different connection and story with John Prine. And I mean, me, the first time I heard him was, I didn't really even start listening to kind of folk and country music till I was in college. And the first time I heard him was the song Paradise. And it immediately brought me back to being a kid out on the East Coast of New York. And just, it's got the line, when I was a child, my daddy would travel, down to Western Kentucky. But, it talks a lot about just playing in this creek and this river and all this stuff. And it just really brought me back to, my dad taking us camping out in Western New York and all these just amazing times playing and using our imaginations as kids and stuff. And it's a very cool song about, being a kid. It has to do with the environment. It ultimately has to do with, death and rebirth too, I think too. And just a lot of different things. But first, anyway, I can obviously kind of go off on a lot of this stuff, but
please do.
The first time I heard that song, I mean, it, like I said, it just blew me away. And I was like, who is this person? And it kind of just got me down a rabbit hole of John Prine. And I really connected with, he's a great writer. He can write a really sad song, but there's just a silly nature to it too. Yeah. And I've always appreciated that and loved that about him too. And even in I think some of my darkest days, I'd turn to John Prine, and even some of his saddest, darkest songs have at least one funny line. And so that always gets me. And in my writing too, like I said, I've been singing and writing for about 20 years, and I always, whenever I'm writing out a song, if it's a kind of a heavy subject material, I'm always like, well, I gotta at least put one little funny thing in here, just like John Prine would do. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where I first came, into contact with him, and his influence and legacy on me. And obviously, when he passed, it was, I mean, we've all known musicians who have passed, and I mean, that one I feel hit me the hardest of any other musician I've had in my lifetime, and never met him. I just kind of felt like a really tight connection with him, and many other musicians I've talked to have said the same thing, that they cried when he died, or they just felt that connection too. And I think that's a pretty rare thing to have that connection with a writer and a songwriter. And I mean, I still get a few people who are like, "Who's John Prine?" I'm like, "You had to eat." Like, John Prine. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know him yet.
You don't know that.
All the great songs, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's just something I always want to share with the world too. And ever since he died, it's been on my mind that I've wanted to just do kind of a tribute show to him. And this last year was the first year it actually all timed out, and it actually timed out that his the day we scheduled the show was his actual 4-year anniversary of his death, and it felt so fitting that we could do that. And he had so many songs about life and death and his own death. He talked about playing and all that stuff too. I just thought that was like, I was like, this is just kind of too perfect just to have it coincide with that date. But
that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, he meant so much to me. And like I said, I never met him, but I just have felt that connection immensely. And I still do to this day. I'll still listen to him, and I can get kind of torn up a little bit about
Sure.
But
I mean, I think that speaks to his genius, right? That like so many, I've also heard so many musicians, I think I've heard more musicians than any other musician death, say that how powerfully this one affected them. And I think that speaks to his genius, right? That it was like, you felt like you knew him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a tragic day, but it was also a beautiful day. He kind of felt like he was ready for it his whole life, and he knew what he had done, and he was ready for it too, I think, in his own way. But yeah. And then the first time we did this back in April 7th, out in northern Colorado, and we had, including me, we had 12 different singers, and so
awesome.
So it was a big undertaking for me, and also for the Sugar Britches band, because all my guys learned everything beforehand, and for, I would say, a good chunk of them, we didn't have any time to practice them. So and we've had a few practices this time around because we have a little bit more time. But I mean, it was just such an amazing day just to get all 12 of those people out, and we had basically, every 2 singers, someone new would come up, and I'd introduce them, and everyone would share a story of the songs they were about to sing and what it meant to them and stuff. And it really, the audience was very quiet and just ready to listen. And I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but it was just a really cool. Like, people came, it was almost like they just wanted to feel that presence of the John Prine song and what it meant to everybody too. So it was a really special day, and everybody who's guest singing on this one too is we just can't wait to do it again and to share that brotherhood and that love of John Prine and keep that going too, because it was a super special day, and we are so excited to do it again.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah, can you? I mean, on that subject, can you give us a little sneak peek of maybe some of the guests that are going to be coming?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have me doing a good chunk of the songs, I would say, just because I love him, and I do like to sing a lot of John Prine songs when I can. But we have Z, our fiddle player, and she's going to sing a couple. She'll do some with me, and then some on her own. She's got a beautiful voice. Plays a great fiddle. And then we have Jeff Finlan, a great independent folk singer. A lot of folks might recognize him. I mean, he's just been Playing and Singing Forever, one of my buddies, he had a pretty big hit with the Elizabethtown soundtrack. He was on that. Cameron Crowe had a song in that movie.
Right on.
But one of my favorite writers, and he, again, reminds me of John Prine, too.
Yeah.
And then we've got Eric Lundy, another good singer-songwriter based out of Northern Colorado. And he had a band called Lundy Station. Now he plays just solo under his name. Another really, I mean, I'll just say this. Everybody in their own way, I think, reminds me a little bit of John Prine. They're all very, very deep, but also very fun and silly, too. And Eric actually just made a gospel album with another person who's singing, which is Sweet Virginia. I'm not sure if you've heard of her, but she's another absolutely amazing musician and writer. I mean, she put out an album a year or two ago that has just been one of my absolute favorites. Like, great writing, really good craftsmanship with songs, and amazing, beautiful voice too. And then our last guest singer for right now is Joe Schicky, and you might know him from West Side Joe and the Men of Soul. Great blues project. Yeah. He's right. And he has been kind of in and out in Colorado. He's been back in Colorado for a while, but he was in Memphis for a little bit too, and got a great little southern flair to him. But he is one of my favorite people in the world to play with. Sometimes he'll sit in with Sugar Britches and play electric lead guitar too, and he's just so fun. And I mean, like I said, all these people are fun and super talented. Sure. And you know, another beautiful thing just about being a musician in Colorado is you make these connections with all these other great musicians, and it's just a blast to get to play together. So that's kind of what this show is about too. Is we've got a really fun, tight, awesome honky tonk band, and then we've got a bunch of musician friends who are all amazing in their own right, and then we all kind of get to come together and celebrate one of our heroes and do this thing. So yeah. I mean, that sounds to me like that's a really cool spirit to have for a tribute show. Yeah, like it sounds like that hits right at the nature of it. So very cool. Yeah. And Brian, you mentioned the kind of humor and sort of silly aspect of John Prine, and I got to say, I when I saw that you guys were doing this show, I thought it really made sense to me that a band that has song titles like Quinoa Cowboy would be the perfect group for this. So, can you tell me more about what will folks see of that humor? What will folks see of that spirit of humor at the show? The spirit of humor that kind of links John Prine and Sugar Britches. Is there going to be storytelling? Banter, like jokes, even? Absolutely. I think I'm kind of known at this stage for stage banter in between shows, and nice. I actually had a bassist at one point many years ago who said, well, "You should probably just stop talking in between songs." And he doesn't play with us anymore because I do have a lot of people saying we come here. They're like, we come to hear you talk, and
nice.
And I don't always love to hear myself talk, but I do have a lot of stories at this point. And I mean, I've got a lot of stand-up comedians friends, and we always joke that, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and they all wanted to be musicians too. So I think there's a little bit of that. And even just watching old John Prine shows, I mean, he was so adept at having a little one-liner in between things, and such a good storyteller. And I've tried to take that into our live shows as well. But I definitely don't shy away from sharing a story behind a song and sharing what a song means to me. And I think I'd rather make an audience laugh than I would to make them cry. But and with a lot of those Sugar Britches originals are, like I said, I write on some pretty serious subjects, addiction and heartache, of course, and but I always try to throw in a few funny lines and just make it a little bit more lighthearted, and especially with Sugar Britches, it's definitely been a band that's more on the silly goose side, I would say. We always try to say that we're silly fun boys, of country music. So
yeah, it sounds like it from listening to your music. It sounds like it.
If you don't know, our first album is called "Don't Make Her a Mixtape Yet, You Idiot." And then
I love that.
And our second one is called "No One Cares That It's Your Birthday."
Aww.
Mostly because well, we've all been in bars for so long and working in restaurants. We didn't want to sing "Happy Birthday" anymore, so.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, we have a very special and very explicit song that we sing to birthday people if they ask for it. So, and that's on that second.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm a musician too, and I've definitely been there as well. It's like,
well, and
what's your birthday?
I always tell other musicians, I was like, I wrote this song for us, so please use it. Have a listen and use it, but there is it's very explicit too. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, no, I've definitely had that kind of like, oh, it's your birthday, awesome. Really wish you were a little less loud so people could hear my music. Like, yeah.
This song is for you, then, my friend. I think you'll like it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. Right on, man. Awesome. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite song to play at the show? I know you mentioned Paradise being one of your favorites. Do you have a favorite John song to play with like the whole band?
I do. Probably with the whole band. And it is, I mean, one of my favorite songs is Christmas in Prison, which again, it sounds like a real big bummer of a song, but the poetry and imagery in it is so beautiful. And then there is just a couple really funny little lines in there that and it's a fun one for me to sing. I really feel like I can kind of show off a little bit with it too. And it's just really fun to sing. And then just to have, drums, violin, guitar, bass on everything. It's just super fun to have that full feeling to it as well. Because so many of his songs were so stripped back and bare,
right?
A lot of the time too. But and oddly, a lot of pan flute too on some of those records. But
yeah,
that
always surprises me.
I know. I always think of that too. I'm like, what made him think to use a pan flute on this?
Yeah. I know. I've wondered that. Like, was that just like the style of the time? Or, I don't know. Was it just like having a real moment, like real briefly there or something? I don't know.
It's something I haven't really even thought to ask until right now. But maybe, maybe his mom was a pan flautist or something. But
or he just bought one. I mean, maybe he just like bought one and was like, oh, crap, I got to use this now. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Got to get his money's worth.
But so I think I love singing Christmas in Prison. That's probably my favorite with the band. And then, there's just so many fun, silly ones. His last album had a lot of really cool stuff too. And I like that Egg and Daughter Night, 1979, I think it is. It's a longer title. And that song is just so silly and funny too. And the first time I was singing that around the house, my wife, there's a line that says, when the farmers come to town and they spread those eggs around, my wife just like kind of looked over me like, what is this?
What does that mean?
There's a funny story behind that too. So, I'll probably do that one too. And there's just so many good silly ones. And I know, all of our guest singers and stuff have a lot of good stories, and a lot of them basically just picked out their favorite ones too, which I think is a very cool thing. We're obviously going to be doing the hits, and I mean, he has such a big catalog, it's hard to fit everything in there, of course too, but I think it was important to just say, what song do you want to do, and and kind of go with that, because there's some really awesome deep cuts, and then there's the ones that everybody loves too. So.
Of course. That sounds like a good way to narrow it down. I had the same thought to me. I was like, man, this is such a deep catalog he's got. Like, how could you possibly choose? But that's very cool, doing everyone's favorites.
And it again, makes it pretty personal too. And like I said, it really has been just a joy to get to do this. It's something I've wanted to do, since he passed, just because I was like, I just want to pay tribute, to this guy. He's definitely the biggest influence on my writing. So it felt like it was the right thing to do, and yeah, I'm just really excited to share that with everybody in Denver and beyond, because yeah, we did a small show in northern Colorado, and we sold it out pretty quick, and yeah, hopefully the people who couldn't come to that will get to come to this show. So
yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, people love their pride.
Yeah.
They need their pride. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, Brian, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. As we go out, could you maybe say, like for folks who are watching who maybe aren't that familiar with John Prine and they might not consider themselves like a John Prine fan, why should they come to the show? What would get you out there?
Well, I think that you would, if you don't know him, I'll tell you should.
Yeah,
but
easy enough.
Yeah,
just go listen.
But I think you'd be surprised if you looked at all the songs he wrote and that other people did too. I mean, he wrote "Angel from Montgomery" is probably the biggest one that you've probably heard Bonnie Raitt and a million other people do, and just such a beautiful song. And then he actually he co-wrote "You Never Even Called Me by My Name" with Steve Goodman, one of his writing partners, which was made popular by David Allan Coe. So if you're a big Honky Tonk fan, I mean, he just had yeah. Anyway, he wrote a lot of songs for other people too. But like I said, I think there's something for everybody in John Prine music. If you like country music, there's really good country music. If you like folk music, really great folk music. There's some really good like rock and blues stuff in there as well. And again, just like pure silly stuff. That's another early one I heard was "Let's Talk Dirty in Hawaiian," and I mean, it's just such a dumb song.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so many musicians, myself, I've taken myself way too seriously, but he just seemed like he knew himself.
Yes,
and he could totally poke fun at himself. He could write a song that was super deep and also super silly. And I think actually the first time someone heard him, I think he played when he was like 24, and the person who heard him and booked him said, "This guy looks like he's 18 and he sounds like he's 80 or something."
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably the best compliment you could ever give a singer or a writer too. Just like, so young, but also so old, like just to have all that.
Yeah, an old soul.
You'll hear the breadth of experience and wisdom in all these songs. And I mean, he really just encapsulated America and the human experience, I think. I mean, I think that's what makes him so iconic. And I mean, everybody says, this so-and-so is the greatest American writer. And I'll definitely stand up and say, I think John Prine is the greatest American songwriter. So
right on.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah, so that's my pitch to you. Yeah. So yeah, and it'll be fun and silly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a Wednesday night during the summer in Denver. Like, you're gonna want to be outside. Yeah. Come, bring family, bring a picnic. Just there's I mean, you're gonna want to be outside anyway. I can't think of a better way to spend a summer evening.
Yeah, you can't beat it in Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. Brian, before we sign off, I just realized we had a question in the chat a while ago, which is, how did you come up with the name Sugar Britches?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, me and my first band partner, Josh, we had just kind of been playing. We'd both been playing solo for years, and then we had been trying to come up with a name, and I didn't want to just say Brian Johansson, and he didn't want to just say, Josh Long or anything. So we had a few other ideas, but then we had a friend who was a radio DJ, and she had just kind of always called the two of us her little Sugar Britches. So, so we just kind of were like, what if we just try that for a month or so? And we tried it, and it was a good fit, and just kind of went from there. And yeah. So that's my
favorite. Those are my favorite kind of band name origin stories. You have a really evocative name. You ask somebody what it came up from, like how it came up, and it's just a weird thing somebody said one time.
Yeah.
Like
Yep,
there's no deeper meaning or anything. Just yeah.
That usually is it. And usually, you'll write down all these, band names. They're like, oh, that'd be a good band name. It's like you never go back to that book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a list of I've got a list of coming up on like 400 band names in my notes app. So
let's we gotta trade those sometimes.
I'd love to. Absolutely, I'd love to. I got some weird ones.
Thank you for that question. That's that is a good question. So and then if you please come to the show and get your tickets early, and then you can catch Sugar Britches all over Colorado, and in the West we were just in Utah and Wyoming, and I think we're mostly back home in Colorado for July and August, I want to say. So,
Wonderful. Well, Brian Johansson, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. You too, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And folks, please be sure to, if you joined us halfway through, please be sure to get your tickets with a link in our bio for Swallow Hill's summer concerts at 4 Mile Historic Park on July 10th. It's going to be Sugar Britches tribute to John Prine. It's going to be an amazing show. And we'll see you there, folks. Take care, Brian.
You too. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
See you at the show.
See you at the show. Peace.